You guys can put your best listening ears on for Chad today, all right? He's going to bring you the word. All right.
Thanks, guys.
Yep.
I appreciate it. Anybody actually do their homework from last time?
I did some of it, then I didn't like. I forgot what was the homework.
That's a legitimate answer. What on earth did you?
Ask one of your non-Christian friends why they don't.
She's in the front row paying attention with her Bible open. A+ student. Well, that's actually good. That is a good thing. So the homework before, I was curious if anybody actually did it. The homework before was to ask a non-believer or a non-church attender why they don't go. So what do you think the common answer might be? Maybe like, well, my parents don't take me. Hey, that sounds pretty common. If your parents don't take you, then what? Then it's very tough to get to church. I'm sure you can finagle away, but it's tough to get to a place where you don't have transportation to. So some of you handed in some questions before, and I'll be going over those. I'm going to hit some of the highlights too. When he said, I'm going to be finishing up apologetics, that is very tough. There are entire college courses dedicated to just one or two questions. But first, I'm going to kind of give you the question I've always asked my entire, well, since I became a Christian. I've been studying this one specifically for about 15 years, something like that, and I still keep getting answers. It's a pretty neat question. So my question is, okay, if Christ is the answer, where was he in like 500 BC China? Like, how on earth do those people know? Right? If he's the answer and he's not yet, then where is he? Exactly. How would people know about this stuff? Promises? Where's that in China? Where's that in South Africa?
I don't know.
Yeah, so it takes a little bit to look. But yeah, that's right. There's a herald of promises. So I have a question for you guys. I'm going to ask you a lot of questions today. Maybe I'll call on you, because why not? Because this is interactive. Have you guys seen the Super Mario movie? Guys,
Yes.
anybody not seen it?
The plot is so scattered.
It is, well, it's pretty neat. I really like the Super Mario movie. So my favorite part about it is when DK is trouncing Mario, and then what happens? What does Peach do? Gives him a flower, gives him encouragement. And what happens? He literally gets a power up and then wins. She gives him encouragement, and he becomes stronger and overcomes adversity. He becomes furry Mario. He transforms. He has the power of a beast, right? You could put a lot of metaphors over this. Cats are beasts, man. I mean, just have them if they don't have their wet food in the morning, they become terror. They will scratch your face. That's a weird cat. My cat loves it. He lives on this stuff. But that's just a word to you ladies. Never underestimate the power of your words, especially to the male figure in your life. You can destroy them, and you can lift them up so high they literally become a furry, get a power up, and destroy Donkey Kong. All right. How about Naruto? Has anybody seen Naruto? Anime fans? No one's seen Naruto? Not a single person. Naruto? Was it Naruto? Naruto. Does it really matter? So what it's Nar? So it's like Narwhal, but Naruto. Like that.
Yes.
Okay. So what is Naruto? What is he? Why he's this like high pitched voice that when you get to like Boruto and then or Shippuden and Boruto, he still has the same high pitched voice. His child's voice is lower than his. It's just the weirdest thing. But yeah, have you seen Boruto? My 6-year-old watches Boruto. It's the kid version. It's like the next generation Dragon Ball Z if you guys are into that. So what is Naruto? What is Naruto? What is he? Why do you watch him? Never seen him. Well, he's a character that wants to become the Hokage. The Hokage is like the #1 ninja in the village. But for those of you who've seen Naruto, does he win all the time? Well, absolutely not. He gets destroyed. How about Mario? Does he win every fight he's in?
Depends on who's playing.
Does he win every fight he's in? No, he does not. So when you look at the pictures of history, when you look at the stories we have, the stories that we have always had in our life, does the hero always win? If the hero always wins, it's not interesting. You don't want to see somebody who just has an easy life, who's rich their entire life, gets everything they ever wanted, and they're just a saint. Like, you don't want to see that. You want to see somebody who is struggling, who overcomes. When you watch, you were talking about last week, Kobe versus Jordan, right? Who's the best? Well, it doesn't matter. Who had the hardest upbringing? Who came from the lowest point? That's usually kind of more important when it comes to when you're gauging the story. So throughout all of history, we have these stories that are really important to us. Go ahead.
Honestly, when I watch Disney movies and I can't get through it all the way, like if I'm watching it on Disney Plus, I honestly I don't feel the need to like continue watching it because I always know that the dude is gonna get the girl or the hero's gonna win.
So why is that the template? The template of happily ever after, right? Is there such a thing?
In real life, most
You have-
scenarios you gotta work
well,
harder than they do.
You have all watched your parents, right? Is it happily ever after, heaven on earth? Your parents never argue. Does that ever happen?
Honestly, movies never show what happens.
No, they don't. But they show you the aim to the future. Rapunzel was super good. Like when he cut her hair, I'm like, oh my gosh, it was so good. So Disney movies, at least the older ones, the newer ones get kind of finicky. The Disney movies show that same kind of template. The hero, especially, so we're talking Rapunzel. Has anybody seen Rapunzel? You boys, you can raise your hand, it's okay. So the male figure starts out as a crook. And what changes him? What changes the male figure? Rapunzel, the feminine. The feminine pulls the masculine back into reality. In Peter Pan, you guys seen the Disney version of Peter Pan?
Yes.
So what does he start out doing? He starts out flying around trying to attach a shadow with soap. In leggings, absolutely, because Peter Pan never grows up. I could talk probably for a long time just about that story, Peter Pan. So what does Wendy do? Silly boy, you can't attach things to yourself with soap. Obviously, she sews it to his feet. It does make sense. Here's why that makes sense. Because in order for you to have a proper masculine figure, he has to be intertwined with a shadow. Men, should you do nothing, because I'm talking to you guys right now, mostly the men, or young boys, or whatever, you're on your way, are over here. In order to defend a family, do you have to have any knowledge at all of the darkness?
You got guns.
You would oftentimes, to your point, it'd be good to learn how to shoot, right? So you don't accidentally, hold your gun this way and then shoot somebody and then shoot your neighbor, then shoot their kid. That's a bad idea. So maybe you should practice marksmanship because you have to defend your house. You have to toe the line. You have to use violence in the proper way. This has been the masculine theme. And it takes the feminine actually to draw that out of a man. It really does. You need to have an aim. You need to have something to protect. Right? And the feminine has always been like the judgmental force of nature. All right? She will gauge you and see if you can do that. Whether you think she will or not, that's in your future. So here's the template. It's called The Hero's Journey. This guy named Joseph Campbell wrote about it. He wrote about every single myth that ever existed, from Zeus to Marduk to, what else we got? Tiamat, Ansu, all this stuff in the East. Every African tribe, every Native American one you can think of, saying, here's the template. You start out in the normal. You go down in the known. This is the known. You go down into the unknown, into the chaos. You might literally die because down here is hell. Then you come back. You come back a different person because part of you has to die in order for you to come back. And then you come back up here to the normal. You guys live through this every single day when you go to sleep and wake up. If anything, because yesterday you were a little dumber and today you're a little smarter. You are now a new person today. You do this every day of your life. It's a constant cycle you'll have in your life. As you're a child, you will have these memories embedded into your mind that will come back to you 20, 30 years later, and you will say, why was I so dumb at that point? Right? But you've grown since then. You've grown up. This is the template that is in every single mythical story that we've had, ever. And if it's not there, you will not care about that story. If you watch a story about Superman, right? Probably the most boring hero that's ever existed. He's always bulletproof. He always moves faster than light. Like, how boring is that? They have to give him a trauma story to make him interesting. If you watch a movie with Superman, he has a broken heart, something like that. They have to give him some sort of weakness. You can't have Superman just be Superman to be interested in that. So that's the answer to the question I've had. Where was God always? He's echoed in this myth. Have you guys heard of C.S.Lewis? C.S. Lewis, what did C.S. Lewis do?
Oh, Narnia.
Wrote the Chronicles of Narnia. Very good. He was obsessed with myth before he became a Christian. He was an atheist before he became a Christian. So C.S. Lewis had this vast library, and they used to play a drinking game. So just to give you a perspective on C.S. Lewis, and he had like probably wall-to-wall books in here. Someone would pull a book, start reading a paragraph, and he would finish it without looking. This guy's mind was incredible. And this guy went from atheism to theism, and he thought the best way I can, I guess, help out God's kingdom is to write mythical stories about Narnia. Stories are important, even our fictional ones. So anime, what does anime do that maybe other things do not do? You have time for character development. You have time to see the story and see the struggle. Does that make sense? Okay, that's the answer to my question. And it's always there, and I keep looking. China's an interesting one because at some point, besides Confucius, they burned all of their ancient myths. So it's very tough for China to look back and see that's how it was. We have Eden, the Garden of Paradise. So that's where roughly we come in the mythical realm, or the spiritual realm, I would say, the truthful realm. So I'm going to hit up a couple questions, unless you guys have any. Because that was my question, where has God always been? And I'll answer the ones that some of you handed in before. So I'm going to ask you this, and maybe you can answer it, because if you can answer it, then I don't have to talk about it. Why would a good God send people to hell? Anybody? That's a tough one. Go ahead. He doesn't.
He already has our entire life. He already knows what he wants. But he gives us free will to choose whether or not to follow that plan. And if we don't, then we make our own plan.
So it's our choice. He doesn't send us to hell. But this is a common one that's going to be thrown at you. Jehovah's Witnesses believe this. They believe that a good God would never send anybody to hell. Nobody goes to hell. Good.
Because God isn't getting the worship he deserves in that. Like clearly he deserves to create the entire world. But like,
They go to hell? What is hell? Is it fire and brimstone? Okay. Torment, regret.
Everything.
The absence of everything good. What is good? That's pretty close. What is goodness? What is good? What is good about this room? I need to shout something out. Anybody? What's good about this? The LED lights are pretty cool. Why are they good? Yeah, they add maybe some art to this room. They add some flavor. I keep forgetting they're back there. That machine's good. Why is it good? Because it gives soda, right? It's not, and when you look at it, it's not just a machine. It's a thing that gives soda. Why is that good? Because it's supposed to give soda. If it was broken, like if your phone was broken, it would not be a good phone. It would be a something that's not good phone, right? So goodness is purpose. So when you're looking at how you should live your life, goodness is purpose. The next question is, whose purpose is it? Because that's when you can get to the free will thing. You could say, I want to do things my way without asking anyone else's opinion. I'm going to listen to my feeling. Here's a true or false question. Did Jesus ever say, follow your heart?
yes.
No. Absolutely not. Everybody knows this. You guys make the worst decisions in your life when you're hungry, tired, angry, even happy. You can be elated when you're fatigued. When you're under the throes of emotion, you make the worst decisions in your life. You yell at people that later you would not yell at anybody, right? So you don't follow your heart. Your reason leads, right? Your mind leads. You can't follow your heart. That's a bad idea. So hell is separation from God. It's separation from purpose. Separation from ultimate purpose. So does God send people to hell? No. They choose to not be part of that purpose. That's their choice. The gates of hell, per C.S. Lewis said, are locked on the inside. They're not locked on the outside. And Christ said, the gates of hell will not prevail against me, against my words. So that means he will even go into hell itself where people are separated from him and pull them back. How can a good God send people to hell? The answer, that's a false question. A lot of these are actually false questions. How do you know the Bible's true? Give me 5 minutes then, whenever. Thanks.
There's scientific proof.
There's scientific proof? Okay. So science proves the Bible is true.
Certain aspects of it, yes.
Okay. Well, science proves the Quran's true too. Same with the Vedas and the Hindi language. Same with the some of the Sanskrit things in the Mesopotamian area. So maybe not just science.
It's a paradox because the Bible is true because the Bible says it's true.
Oh, that's not only why. That's a self-referencing argument. The Quran does that. Good.
All of the things that it mentions, like take matchup. And
Timeline matchup, yeah. Archaeological evidence, yep. Yeah. So this is actually one of the biggest hurdles that the Mormons have. The Mormons believe that a civilization like America existed in America before Columbus came over. But we have no evidence for that. Right? Evidence is important. It is good, but there's two answers to this, actually. The first one is, actually, it doesn't matter. And that's maybe a more complicated one. I don't know if we'll get into that one. But the second one is it's uncontrolled. So the story about the Quran eventually when Muhammad died, and this is very rough, so take this for what it is there were 7 Qurans, and they all fought over whose Quran was the better one. And what happened is one person won, and he burnt all the other Qurans, and so that's what we have. That's called uncontrolled. One person wrote it and dictates what it should be. So the Bible is quite different. It's uncontrolled. What is uncontrolled in the scientific realm? Anybody know? So uncontrolled, I'll answer for you. That means, so what Paul did, Paul sent his letters out where? Like all over the place, right? Not just in one spot, everywhere. Same with the Gospels, written down, put everywhere. Same with the Old Testament, written down, copy, put everywhere. What happened is, to get the Bible, with the Council of Nicaea, they brought it all in, they saw what matched, and they scrapped the rest. That's how the Bible was made. It's uncontrolled. There was no one person dictating every single thing. It was all together. The second part of it is, it doesn't matter if it's true or not, because it tells you how life actually is. This one's takes a little bit more of a conversation to draw out of, but it explains exactly how people act and exactly what the answers are to your problems. Right? So that's the Bible. All religions lead to God. Is that true? Why not? To a certain extent. So they all do.
Yeah, but they're not.
All religions lead to God. How?
Just their own version. Well, I mean, when they're worshiping, God made.
That is
They're
true.
worshiping a statue, God made the statue.
But that doesn't lead to God. That leads to the statue.
Wait, are you talking about God with a capital G or a little
Capital G, the ultimate truth, the ideal, God.
Then no, it does not.
What does not?
Not every religion is.
Not every religion leads to God. So you're right. So you're going with the idolic part of it. It leads to the person who created God, only maybe the person that created them. This is spoken of a lot when people start worshiping wooden idols or start worshiping elements of the planet, that kind of thing. Good? That's right. Through Christ. As a follower of Christ, that's what we believe. I believe it too, strongly. I've examined this stuff for a very long time. I've read the Quran. The Nag Hammadi scriptures are on my list. I got the I Ching there. What else? The Vedas, I just read through. Oh my gosh, what is it? The Gita. And that's Indian thought. So I'm going to give you a brief rundown of what these different teachers taught. So what does nirvana mean? Anybody have a nirvana shirt? Anybody? What does nirvana mean? Okay, it means peace. Anything else? Just peace. So what is nirvana? No, not quite. Yes. Another word for heaven. That's closer. That's closer. Yes.
Like in Hinduism, where after you've been reincarnated many, many times, then you go to nirvana, which is like the state of heaven or peace if you fulfilled your duties all the time.
That's a very good rough estimate of how that works. You actually explained two different religions. There's the Hindi faith, the reincarnation cycle. All Eastern faiths believe this stuff. So there's a reincarnation cycle. You will be rewarded for your good deeds, and you will be punished for your bad deeds. And this is actually, you can see this, right? You die, you're in the ground, animals eat stuff out of the ground, and then stuff comes out of the animals, like, their offspring, and maybe that's you. Like, who knows? But that's what you see east of Eden. And so that's the kind of the theme, the karmic cycle and reincarnation. It's prevalent everywhere in there. So that's the Hindi faith. Hinduism is when you come back constantly, you're reincarnated. You never get to, there's no eternal. At the same time, everything becomes one. And what Krishna taught is everything is undergirded by love. But then he also taught you need to disconnect. So this is the contradiction, which I've asked a couple of my Hindi friends about this, and they said you just have to accept it. That's very tough for me to do, and maybe it is for you too. If you see 1 + 1 = 3, something's wrong there. You need maybe some more context. But hey, a rooster and a chicken equals more chicken, so that could equal 1 + 1 = 3. But in the abstract, 1 + 1 always equals 2. If you see a blatant contradiction, you kind of want an answer, like, well, that's wrong. You can see that it's wrong. Something needs to happen, but they just said you have to accept it. That was the answer I got. So you have a constant reincarnation cycle where you're constantly being paid for your previous life. The only problem is you never remember your previous life. That's an issue. Where Buddhism comes in is Gautama Buddha. I won't really go into it, but believe it or not, the same story that's in Sleeping Beauty is in the Buddhistic story. It's the idea of you don't invite Maleficent to your party when you're born. Your parents don't allow you to, go outside and scrape your knees. They don't allow you to go. They don't allow you any freedom. This is mostly the father's job. Allow you to go jump on a trampoline. They don't allow you to go get bumped. So when you get bumped for the first time, when you're 25 years old, you bawl your eyes out because you can't change a tire. You just freak out because you're not used to adversity and figuring things out on your own. That makes sense?
So Buddhism is like the parents.
Sorry, that was a long train of thought. This is getting to Gautama Buddha. Buddha took a look at the reincarnation cycle, and he said, I don't like that. I want out. I don't want to play this game anymore of good deeds versus bad deeds, because what happens is he was so spoiled by his dad that when he went out 3 times on carriage rides. He saw somebody that was old, somebody that was diseased, and someone dead. He'd never seen that before up into his, I think, 16th or 18th birthday. I forget. That's where he was. And he saw it for the first time ever, and he said, I want out. I'm going to seek a way out of this. And so he sought for nirvana, and he found it, at least the story says. Nirvana means to extinguish. Nirvana means nothingness. It's not heaven. It's not bliss. It's literally the absence of everything, including yourself. That's what you're seeking out when you become a Buddhist. So you have to be very specific and very careful about this. I mean, does that sound like the God of heaven we worship? Nothingness? Probably not. All right, they're a little different. Go ahead.
Wait, so the idea of Buddhism is go into it.
It's like the
Black
void.
or white.
Yep, you're not even there. That's the idea.
Sense yourself?
It's, well, I don't know. I've never been there. But that's not something I want. We kind of tend to want to be alive and conscious and, playing out our stories from our first-person perspective. So he saw all that stuff, I think, because he was so not used to it. He just saw it and was like so scared. He just wanted out of the whole karmic cycle.
Wait, which nirvana means nothingness? Because there's the Hindu and then there's the...
They both mean the same thing.
Oh.
What does the internet tell you?
The Indian one says that represents the ultimate state of whatever, which words I can't pronounce. It says all Indian religions...
Mushka, I think it is.
Yeah. All Indian religions assert it to be a state of perfect quietude, highest happiness, as well as the liberation from attachment and will to suffering, power of the round of existence.
Yeah, so which one is it? Is it happiness or detachment? You said it right there. It's a giant contradiction. You can't be happy and unattached. You have to be attached to something. So there's a contradiction in there. The Hindi, they keep going with the cycle. Yeah, isn't it? Very weird. Yeah, so that's what nirvana is. When you're wearing this shirt that says nirvana on it, so be very careful about what you're trying to promote. You're promoting extinguishing, not to mention the fact that the band Nirvana shot himself in the head. So that's something to think about. And his music is not too terribly deep. It's quite sorrowful, but it is part of the grunge scene, so it's kind of par for the course. So that didn't work. How about the Quran? Why can't you get to heaven through the Quran? Why doesn't that lead to the same route we lead? I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on in the Middle East at the moment, right? I had somebody at my work who is actually Hindi. Well, he says he isn't, but he is, I believe, through his culture at the very least, that says they all worship the same thing anyway. Why are they fighting over there? That's a good question. The answer is they don't worship the same thing. So just to give you a perspective, and this is like a prompted question, why doesn't the Quran lead you to the same version of God that we do? Allah, right? Actually, the same thing in what's that? Yeah, to the Quran. So the idea was all religions lead to God, but when you start examining their faith, they don't. Right? So the Muslims believe that God is one, and He has no son, and Muhammad is His prophet. That's like the most powerful sutra you can say from the Quran. But the thing is, that's not a God of relationship. That's a God that is so far above you. What does Islam mean? You guys know what Islam means without using the internet? That's okay if you don't. Islam means to submit. That's what Islam means. What does Christian mean? If you're a Christian, what does that mean? Well, maybe not the opposite of that. To rise up. I don't know if we can rise up against the gates of heaven. Yeah, they're a bit beyond us. So what does Christian mean? Anybody? If you are a Christian, what are you? Follower of Christ, that's right. Christian used to be, from what I understand, a slang term that meant little Christ. But that's what it is. They started, yeah, I am that. I'm a little Christ. I'm trying to be Him. Good luck trying to be Christ. I don't know if you guys know anything about Nietzsche, but he was one who, he philosophized with a hammer. Philosophia, you guys remember that from last week? What does philosophia mean? Philosophy is the love of wisdom. So Nietzsche took a hammer to everything. Enlightenment, reincarnation, atheism even. And he said there was only ever one Christian. And I kind of believe him. And he said that was Christ. Because imagine if you guys actually believed in God right now. You'd be paying attention a little bit more maybe. Yeah? If you actually believed God was paying attention to your every move and everything you did and everything you thought. That's tough. Because we all have this little part of ourselves we want to hold just for ourselves, not give. Right? That's how everybody is built. So all paths lead a certain direction, that's for sure, but maybe not to God. What else do I got here? So we did good God sending people to hell. Thank you. We have, how do we know the Bible is true? All religions lead to heaven, and these are all crash courses as well. I've had lots of dialogues with people that, well, they're a lot longer than 30 minutes, that's for sure. So I was given two questions, and I'm going to try to answer them here. The first one was, why does God take people that we love? So I'm going to ask you guys that. Why does God take people? Why does God take our pets? I love my cat. I had to put a couple cats down, man. That's sad. Everything dies. That's right. That's a good answer. Mortality, I would say, yeah, and and this takes a while to unpack from a theological point and from a philosophical point about why you have to die. If you never died, if no one ever died ever, would you care about what you did? I mean, you're basically invincible and immortal. You can't die. So maybe it gives more weight to your individual actions, lets you know you have a certain amount of time here on earth that you can maybe play with if you want, but you have to take it seriously because your life is serious. All right? And not only that, you have to find something to pick up like a cross and carry it with you. And you're going to die. And that's pretty serious. Maybe take your life seriously. It's not just for you to feel. It's for maybe to help others out on their journey, help them pick up their crosses, that kind of thing. But I what you said before was really good. He doesn't take them from us as if he's personally trying to hurt you by taking someone from you. Right? Things have to happen a certain way. So they're not really taken from us. What do you do if you're friends with a Christian but they stop going to church? That's a good question. Well, should we be like, okay, that's fine? No? Yeah? Try to bring them back. Okay, more specifically, maybe what else should you do? How do you bring them back? He talked about the funnel earlier, right? Invite them to Nerf Wars. That sounds fun. Why would you want them to come to church? Or come back? Tell you, the first thing you should probably do if a friend of yours stops going to church is ask them why. A lot of this stuff in apologetics has this tendency to go through the impersonal abstract. Here's the answer to your question. But in reality, you're answering a person. You need to ask the person specifically why. Why do we want people to come to church? Is it a good thing to follow Christ? Why is it a good thing? What is goodness? That's right. And that questions, they lead to a relationship. And our God is a God of relationship. Oh, well, that's a risk you all take. Every time you speak, you risk offending anybody. Anytime you say any word, you're risking offense. Anybody can be offended at anything. Actually, that's a test of maturity, right? How well you can deal with adversity and pain and things you don't like. You have thick skin. Can you take that? Can you weather it? Are you confident in your own beliefs that if someone says something like, the Jews killed Jesus, the Jews are bad. Is that true? Sorta, but not really. It wasn't them per se. It was the ideas that went around with them. So are you confident in your own belief structure that you can answer that and weather things you don't like? I'll give you an example. My 6-year-old, we were at the aquarium on Friday. She decided it'd be a good idea to run up the escalator, landed on both her shins at the same time on the escalator. Well, that's a problem. Yeah. So what did she do? She's 6. What did she do? She cried. Absolutely, man. That hurts. I might have teared up. I maybe not cried. But that's what you do when you're younger. You don't have your mind to help guide you through things. This pain will pass. I will be fine. Right? So you immediately go to the emotion because the emotion's prevalent. The emotion is more prevalent when you're younger and closer to innocence. The emotion rules you. You scream as an infant. You need food, water, diaper change. Yeah, that's probably a good one. And so what do? It's uncomfortable, you scream. What else are you going to do? You don't know how to talk or walk or anything. So you start at the emotion. But when you get older and you fall down, you bang your shin, do you cry right away? I hope not. I mean, that'd be weird. A grown man, like, if Paul came in here and bashed his shoulder against the door and started bawling, that'd be the weirdest thing ever.
My shoulder, I have problems.
So as you mature, you might say the wrong thing. That's 100% true. You might. But you have to be confident in what you know, and then you take a risk. I'm taking a risk being up here and teaching, and Josh taking a risk allowing me to speak to you guys. I've studied this stuff a long time, and I like having conversations with people. Right? So, I'm going to pray for us on our way out. And then I do have a couple of my cards up here if you guys have any other questions, or you can just contact me. I usually sit in the front in church, and I'm at the security kids entrance third Sunday. If you have any questions that are tough, that you're maybe having issues with yourself or other people, or by all means, come to the pastors of this church. They're quite knowledgeable. All right? So let's pray. Thank you, Lord, for giving me this time with your children. I pray that some of the words I've spoken will sink in and stay with them as they go out into the world. I pray that they hear and see you and not me throughout our time together. Bless us throughout our day. In your name we pray. Amen. All right, I don't see Josh, and I think it's worship time, so you guys are dismissed.
Dismissed. Good job. Good team.
There's so many kids that I take in the gym, and I just